Good morning. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You've reached the Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman on KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometown station. We're going to do things a little bit differently this week. I've got in studio two very special guests who usually start the show. First top of the show, usually do real estate wrap-up stuff as to what's going on with the market and kind of where it's going, and we'll definitely get back into that next time. But I have such an interesting show. I had a really interesting experience just before the Christmas holiday that I wanted to share with you guys because I think it was kind of amazing. It was really, really cool. It's a little hometown gem that I didn't even know we had, embarrassing to me. But I have Leon Worden from the SCV Historical Society and Gloria Mercado-Fortine. Am I pronouncing that right, Gloria? Fortine. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You'll forgive my horrible pronunciations. And I'm with us from the Santa Clarita Valley Historical Society. We're going to talk all about sort of the work they're doing and sort of some of the stuff that goes on. You guys should really, really get out. If you have a time at all, get out to William S. Hart Park and see some of the stuff that's going on out there because I grew up out here in the Santa Clarita Valley. We moved here in, I think we moved in 79, if I remember. And I was one of those kids who helped gather pennies to move the Saugus Station, if you were old enough to be around for that in 1980, when it got shifted from across the Saugus Cafe to where it is now in the park. And they have just done some amazing restoration work. I mean, it is just so very, very cool. I had another occasion to go out there and drop something off. And got to see some of the stuff, some of the work they've done and some of the work they're doing, and I was just completely blown away by it. And this is right in our own town. I didn't even know it existed. I'm embarrassed that I'm part of this town and did not know about this because it's just one of the coolest things. And I'll tell you, it wasn't just me. I've been out here forever. I'm 55. I'm kind of jaded, and that's fine. But I also had my 19-year-old daughter with me and a 25-year-old staff member named Chelsea with me. And so the three of us went out there just to drop off some documents for you guys, for Ava at the, shout out to Ada at the archives. And she was nice to take us a little tour. And I had no idea the work that had gone out there. I mean, just the sheer amount of man hours and money that has to have gone into doing this. And it's there, and it's all free for us to just show up and enjoy. So I'm just shocked that more people don't know about this. And I've been on about this so much since that happened. That finally my staff got tired of hearing me complain about it. And so, why don't you bring them on the air? And I said, well, it's not really true. But anyway, so I know we usually talk about real estate stuff, but here's the thing. Real estate, at least in my view anyway, I think you guys will agree with me, real estate those are the structures we live in. Those are the structures we shop in. That's how we exist. And real estate, at the end of the day, is where and how we conduct our lives. And they leave an important, properties leave an imprint. They just do. They leave an important imprint that, I don't know, I think they inform our future by teaching us about our past. I think you guys would agree with that. You're running a museum, obviously. So I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it's my show and I can do that. We don't always have to talk about the real estate market. So let's talk about the SCV Historical Society and the kind of the work they're doing. So let me introduce you guys. First is Leon Worden, and I'm going to read, this is going to take me a while.
Don't read all that.
Your CV. No, this is after I've edited it. Because the first CV I got on you from my staff and from Eva was about 3 pages long. Very impressive.
I've been around a while.
Yeah, but these are just the high points. Okay, so Leon Worden is CEO of SCV TV, the 501c3 nonprofit corporation that operates the Santa Clarita Valley's public television channels and provides multimedia services to all education and government agencies, and the 120 plus nonprofit organizations that serve the Santa Clarita Valley. That wasn't enough. He's been a Santa Clarita Valley resident since 1970, a UCLA graduate, an award-winning journalist, Associated Press, California Newspaper Publishers Association, National Newspapers Association, Numismatic Literary Guild Award for investigative reporting, business writing, opinion pages, websites. I'm not even halfway. Leon has produced local television programming since 2002 and has served as the president of the SCV Historical Society, chairman of the City of Santa Clarita's Newhall Redevelopment Committee, founding member of the Los Angeles County Small Business Commission and the county's Ad Hoc Committee on Homelessness Services, founding member of the SCV Habitat for Heroes, founding director of Friends of Men's Revival. I just follow you around. You just found stuff all the time. And co-creator of the SCV Sheriff Station Haunted Jailhouse, which started in 1989. He established the Old Town Newhall Gazette in 1994, created the SCV History.com archive, which we're going to talk a little more about, in 1996, put the Signal newspaper online in 1998, together with its IT manager, and served as editor of the Signal until 2007 when he left to prepare the reorganization of SCTV. One more paragraph. Today, he is the Chief Administrative Officer of the Santa Clarita Valley Public Television Authority and manager of SCTV.com, SCVnews.com, SCVhistory.com, and other local websites. He is a previous Vice President and now Secretary of the SCV Historical Society Board, Chair of the Rancho Camulos Museum Board, and continues to serve as President of the Santa Clarita Valley 4th of July Parade Committee. And last but not least, he was named the Santa Clarita Valley Man of the Year in 2015. Where did you have time to accept that award? My
Lord.
Wait
until you read Gloria's. If you think that was something.
She's also very impressed. I got 1 page of show and 2 pages of CV for you guys, which yeah. in rare company today, which is great. So Gloria Mercado, Fortine. I'm sorry, I don't have trouble with that. Gloria Mercado-Fortine. Former teacher, principal, superintendent, and past governing board member, and past Santa Clarita Valley Woman of the Year. You guys have that in common. She is the CEO and president of Global Education Solutions. Gloria has extensive experience as an educator and community leader. She is a powerful advocate for education and a role model for thousands of young people in both her professional and personal life. During her 37 career in education, she served as a teacher, counselor, principal, assistant superintendent, president in large urban school districts. Gloria served 4 terms, 16 years, as a publicly elected official of the governing board of William S. Hart High School District. Prior to serving on the Hart School District Board, you served 10 years as the Castaic Union Elementary School District Governing Board, and you're a Hart High graduate. That's a lot.
See, you cut down yours before you gave it to him. I should have done that. Everybody's changing channel by now.
Yeah, well, this is actually a combination of some of the stuff Eva sent us and some of the stuff we found on our own. And my staff likes to get bored doing real estate, so whenever we have luminaries as it were on the show, I get to cut them loose and say, go write me the bios. And they usually come back with like 2 or 3 sentences, and that's usually about enough. But yours in particular is like, oh, okay. It just sort of went on and on and on. They started by saying, you need some time to read this. Oh, it's just a bio. No, you can...
We're already halfway through the show. Cool.
Yeah, hey, that was fun. That killed up half the hour. That worked out. All right, nice. Anyway, so thank you guys for coming in. Obviously, for those of you listening, you didn't need the whole bio. These are 2 very, very heavily involved people in our community, more so than most. So then thank you guys for that. I think you guys are doing it just from the layman's position. It's a fabulous job. But I want to talk specifically about the museum and the stuff you guys are doing out there, because... I was completely blown away by it. Like I said, I hadn't seen the station since 1980. I had no idea what had gone on, and there's just so much stuff to see and do out there. We were just out there on a Tuesday.
Well, you got there now, and that's the important thing.
Yeah,
it's
slow.
And it's it's a familiar story. I mean, I was talking to somebody not too long ago who was over at the train station and said, I've lived in Canyon Country for 35 years, and I've never been to Hart Park. And I'm like, okay, well, cool.
Well, glad you're here now. Yeah. So, that's almost kind of my thing. I kept saying, well, I can't believe this is here, and it's this little gem right in our community, and it's just fantastic. And again, I was whining about it enough that finally staff, because there's young kids and they're smarter than I am, finally said, well, why don't you go do that on the show? And I thought, well, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Maybe get some other people to come take a look. Mm-hmm. So I've got some questions for you. We put together some questions. I talked to a bunch of various people. Typically what I do with the show is people send me questions from all over the state, usually local, about their real estate stuff, and that's what we get into. So we applied the same kind of methodology, only this is more fun because I got to talk to some of my daughter's friends and a lot of other people. So I got a whole list of things here for you. Let's start with the simple one. What is the mission of the SCV Historical Society?
Well, the mission of the Historical Society is to preserve and share the history of the Santa Clarita Valley, quite simply.
Yeah. Okay, the obvious follow-up question, why?
Well, the way I think of it is our history roots us to the community. People come from all over. I don't know what the turnaround rate is these days. People don't, on average, don't stay in this valley very long, And so you need to hit them with our history, because that's otherwise, where are you? You're just in some sprawling suburb of Los Angeles.
Yet another one. Yeah.
It's our local history that ties you to the community, and you don't feel a part of something until you learn about it. By learning about it, you start to care about it. By caring about it, that's when you get involved. And
it's even more fun. You can walk through it. Yeah. I mean, it's not just reading it in a book or watching a video. Right. I mean, it's all right there to experience. We've been referring to Ava's office as like Indiana Jones' storeroom. I mean, that's what it kind of looks like. It's got that feel. And the station is just what you guys have done with the work at that station. I mean, matching paint colors. It's just fantastic. It is literally like stepping back in time. And
a lot of time, a lot of money went into that.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Well,
and more money neneeded.
We're definitely going to talk
about that.
Yeah,
and that's why we need to talk about that, because we do have an event coming up.
Yeah. Where are we on?
I made you just skip ahead there.
It's the 50th. It's the 50th anniversary, right. And it's March 7th. The SCV Historical Society was founded in '75, so this is the 50th year. Yep. And March 7th, you're holding the 50th anniversary gala.
Right.
Yes, that's our culminating event, and it's going to be exciting. So it is themed, and it is live in Santa Clarita Valley Saturday night. So it is themed, and it's festive, and we want people to get involved in it. And so it's going to be great, because whether you've lived here all your life or you're a newcomer, we're going to highlight the history of our valley in a fun and interactive way. So we want everyone to get involved. and and it'll be great for people who just moved here and maybe don't know, as as Leon was saying, they don't know, but they want to be connected to our valley and learn about the history. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great dinner experience, but it does go back that the main focus is that we also want to raise funds. Both of you talked about what's going on, and you're surprised, Rich, at so much has been happening and things that have been done and upgraded and brought in. So we are looking to raise funding so that we can continue to bring in new exhibits. There are projects that need to be completed. There are educational programs that we're working on, and we want to bring in kids from all of the districts and start them early to learn about this valley. So it's going to be held at the Canyon Country Community Center, and so it'll be a great evening. And you can go on our website to find out more information. So hopefully you'll have it up somewhere, SCVHS.org.
Absolutely be able to get to the website through the station. You can call me directly. I'll send you there. No problem.
Perfect.
We'll get them there.
And so we're really pushing to get sponsors, and our sponsors range from $500 to $10,000. So there's something for everyone. And again, I can't stress enough that if you've visited, if people have visited, you'll appreciate what we're trying to do, and we're trying to preserve the history, and continue to add to what we have there at the History Center.
Well, let me also point out to the listeners, when you say bringing new exhibits, it's not like you have a room and you take the artifacts out and put another one in. You do that as well, but you bring whole structures. There are whole houses.
Yeah.
On the property. There are, 5 or 6, 7 different structures on the property?
Yeah, there are 8 buildings, plus a locomotive, plus a caboose.
Yeah.
And the locomotive and caboose are really popular with the kids.
Yeah. Oh, I got questions about that.
Yeah, not to bore anybody with numbers, but, pre-COVID, we were doing 43 school group tours per year, which is a lot for an organization of our size, or for a museum of our size. 43 school group tours a year from 30 Title I schools. And, can't really stress too much. Can't overemphasize the importance of this as an educational facility, because it is. The local teachers, 3rd and 4th grade teachers, bring their kids over. They learn about California history. They learn about local history and all that kind of stuff. But you mentioned that the Historical Society is 50 years old, and this event. The Historical Society in all that time has never done a major, huge, gala like the Boys and Girls Club, like Carousel Ranch, like some of those do. So we're doing that now. So this isn't on anybody's calendar. We need everybody to get it on their calendar, because we do plan to do this, and it's going to be unique. Like Gloria said, I don't think anybody's done a Saturday Night Live theme, and that's the feeling of this thing. So there'll be skits, there'll be fun. It'll be a fun time.
Well, it's definitely on my calendar. I tell you what, let's go to break, hear from some of the advertisers. We like to keep them happy. That's what keeps the show running, so we can do this sort of stuff. And when you do use one of the advertisers on the show, it does help the show and it does help the station. So we appreciate it when you do that. But let's hear from some of them. When we come back, we're going to talk more about these. The whole first segment is gone. I got through one question. So I think they're like, if history is any teacher, and again, as it is, as we're talking about with you guys, where that saying takes even heavier weight with you guys, I usually write about 15 or 20 questions, because I want to be prepared. We usually get through 3. So maybe I'm gonna shoot for 4. With you guys.
Maybe we'll do 2.
We'll see. We'll see how we do. So let's go to break. Let's hear from the advertisers. Please listen to the break. We'll be back. You're listening to the Real Estate Fix with Rich Szerman on KHTS AM 1220 FM 98.1, your hometown station. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. You've got the Real Estate Fix with your host, Rich Szerman, on KHTS AM 1220 FM 98.1, your hometown station. And we're sitting here today. We're lucky today. We have in studio 2 guests. We have Leon Worden and Gloria Mercado-Fortine from the SCV Historical Society. We're talking about the fantastic museum that we have in our town that I think a lot of us didn't know was there. I drive by it. I know the station's there. I know the Hart Mansion is there. Go to the park occasionally for kids' birthdays. That's about it. But I had never been to the museum, at least not since 1980s. And I was just completely blown away with what's going on over there. And you guys should all go check this out. If you can hear what I'm saying, just take an hour out of your day and just go drive up there. Better on the weekends, because that's when things I think are more active, which things are more open. But you will see it's not just a static museum where things are behind glass, you're not allowed to touch that sort. It's like a time portal. It's as if you took the station up out of, say, well, what's kind of the year? It's sort of 1930 something, 1940 something.
Well, the train station was built in 1888.
Uh-huh.
And what are you asking?
No, I mean, it was restored to.
Oh, it was restored to
its most busy period.
It was restored to the most active period in its life, which is basically both world wars. 1917, there was a remodel in 1917. The Saugus Cafe actually was there until 1916, and it moved out, and they remodeled the building because they needed to use more of the space for the railroad. Yeah. So from 1917, when you had more passenger service, to 1958, when the passenger service had pretty much dried up because you had transcontinental air travel and bus lines and new federal highways and that kind of thing. So really, the most active period of his life, 1917 to 1958. So you can say both, World War I and World War II period.
But it is so neat to just walk through the museum because there's so much there. I mean, every place you turn, there's another little picture, there's another little example, there's another little story.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning, because we applied for a couple big state and federal grants, which both were canceled because the legislature canceled that grant, and then Elon Musk actually canceled the federal grant. And there's an important point that you were making a little while ago, and that's a lot of money went into this. And I think when people think about how museums are funded, they think, oh, it's funded by the state, or it's funded by the federal government. 98% of the money that's gone into what we've been doing since COVID, with the restorations, has all come out of the community, directly out of the community. Yeah. And so, with state funding having dried up, federal funding having dried up, it's more important than ever that the community, we need the community to sustain this thing and allow it to grow.
Well, this is for us. This is for the community. I mean, I keep saying this over and over again. I'm completely embarrassed that I have lived and worked in this town my entire adult life, and I had no idea what was there. And I figure if that's my experience, I'm in North Valencia, and I go to my offices in the middle of Valencia, and I go, that's it. So I'm here all the time.
I get it. I mean, you know as well as I do that people in Stevenson, there are people in Stevenson Ranch who've never been to Candy Country.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I gave you an example of somebody in Candy Country who had never been to Hart Park in 35 years, right?
Yeah, but I'm just telling you guys, if you can hear my voice, just go. It's fantastic. There's no shortage of stuff to do there. Mm-hmm. It's really, really interesting. It's not like you have to be a Santa Clarita Valley history buffer to go into museums. It's a much more accessible sort of a space than I think most museums are. Because you look at stuff, when you read like this structure was on Walnut. Well, I know where Walnut is. I was on it this morning. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you moved, okay. And there's so much of it one of the houses came out of what is now the Magic Mountain parking lot.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We know what that parking lot
Everything
is.
in that area, the Santa Clarita History Center, has been moved from elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you guys have moved not just the station, which was, kids raised money, did all that good stuff, which is a big deal. But there are, 7 other, there's a little church, and I've got to ask you about something. I want to get back to the questions. I promised my daughter I would do this. She has been on about the schoolhouse because she's 19 and she's in college now.
I have to say which one. We have 2.
Oh, I missed one. So I guess I have to go back. The smaller one, because it is hysterical.
The red one?
Yeah, the little red one.
The red one.
It is hysterical when you look at that as you walk up to the other structures because I have a storage shed at my house that is larger.
Yeah.
And my daughter was funny because as we were walking up there, my daughter was complaining about her college at her classes at the moment. She's in school in Northern California. That she's got a couple of lecture halls that have 5 people in them and a couple of regular classrooms that have 40 or 50 people in them that are totally impacted. Mm-hmm. And she's always complaining about how there's no room in the classroom, And we took a look at that and I went, I think in 2025, 26, you're in a lot better shape than they were in, what's the date of the schoolhouse?
Basically a 6 by 12 foot shed.
Yeah, it's barely, you're supposed to fit 7 people in there. And you look at the desk, there's 6 bodies and a teacher at the head of the thing. Yep. I'm sure it worked great, but there's definitely no talking in class. That's for sure. Because they'd hear you if anything is even a whisper, they'd hear you up front. So tell me the story of the schoolhouse. I'm fascinated about this because it was tell us the story.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Both the schoolhouse and the little chapel. Yeah. They were last in Agua Dulce up Sear Highway, and there was a guy named Robert E. Callahan who in the 1920s established a mission village in Culver City.
Okay.
And what that was, the 1920s was a period of automobile tourism. People had, people were into their own power. They had mobility for the first time. You get in your Model T and drive anywhere now.
The motor
you were no longer tied to the railroad, to the tracks. So you could go out in the countryside and go. And so there were places all over here and all over the country. Places like Vasquez Rocks, where the property owner would try to attract people to come to see the rocks and pay 25 cents entry, that kind of thing. And so there were auto parks, which evolved into motels, which evolved into, whatever. Sure. But, and they were kind of like campsites. You'd have to spend the night somewhere. And so the auto park operators, they were themed. And a popular theme was Native American theme. Yeah. And a popular theme was the Ramona theme. And, so Robert E. Callahan, he built some structures and brought in a lot of Western artifacts, and he actually created both the chapel and the schoolhouse as replicas as a tourist attraction. Here's what a little old schoolhouse looked like. The chapel he actually modeled, he got the idea from the real 1860 chapel out at Rancho Cumulos. If you've ever been down to 126 and stop off the highway at Rancho Cumulos Museum, which is a great little museum also. Mm-hmm. And so he actually built those as replicas. Then in 1950, 60-ish, the Santa Monica Freeway went through.
You're an expert. If you make it up, we'll agree.
And so it displaced him out of Culver City. So he moved up the highway and established Callahan's old. You remember Callahan's? Remember Callahan's old? You ever go out there to Callahan's Old West Trading Post?
Oh yes, I grew up here.
I'm two generations. How many generations are you?
Oh gosh, 3.
3, yeah.
In the valley here, really? I didn't know that. See, we missed that part of your bio.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have dug deeper.
Yeah. She's younger than I am, but she's been here. But her family's been here longer.
Yeah, this is the family, not
that's
me.
It. That's it. So anyway, he had a tourist attraction, a Western and Native American themed tourist attraction, and so then he died in '86, and in '87 his widow donated a lot of stuff to us, including those 2 little buildings.
So what do you do with something like that? You just put it on the back of a truck and move it in, build a foundation, and that's, I'm making it sound a lot easier than I'm sure it was.
But Rich, here's the thing.
It's a 6x12 shed.
Yeah.
It fits on the back of a truck.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. There's also,
hopefully nobody will drive in and steal it.
You also have a 3,000 square foot house and the station.
Well, yeah, that had to move in a couple pieces. So
and that's what the Historical Society has been doing for 50 years, and before that, a lot of volunteers trying to get a hold of this history. And there are, resources are needed, because how do we continue to get those artifacts? How do we continue to bring those in to the History Center? And that takes money. And we have to preserve that.
Very important point. We're the Santa Clarita Valley Historical Society is the only organization that really has the obligation to the community to preserve its history. And what that means is we have to be able to respond. And it doesn't matter if we have the time. It doesn't matter if we have the money. We have to do it.
Yeah,
if the Sauga Speedway is shutting down and getting rid of, and the artifacts have to go somewhere, we have to take them.
That's it.
Whether we can afford to, whether it has to come out of our own pockets, which it often does. No, seriously.
Yes.
And we have to be able to respond.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I know we were out there where you got this sign, the Speedway sign from Sauga Speedway and a bunch of other stuff, so I'm sure it'll become a whole other exhibit as time goes on. What is, you guys...
As time and money go on.
Time and money, exactly, yes. You guys are there all the time. I'm really curious for this question. What is your favorite part of the museum, individually for you guys? I'm sure there's several, but what's kind of, for Gloria, what's your favorite part?
Oh, you know what? I just love the train. I mean...
Yeah.
The train depot. To me, I remember when it was, railroad, Bouquet Canyon then, but that brings a lot of memories.
Well, it feels
and the families that live there.
Yeah.
So that brings out.
Well, you guys have done, with the station especially, you've done this amazing job where when you go into the station, it almost feels like there's motion there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you hadn't been there since pitched in your pennies to move in 1980, right? Because you missed where the train station had kind of like grown into the catch-all for everything. It was the General Santa Clarita History Museum. It was also the office. It was also the storage. It was also the this. It was also the that. And so with COVID, we decided, okay, let's just, we have to shut down. So let's just kind of start over, clean everything out, and pursue the goals that we have always had in mind, but never really had the time or opportunity to do. And so instead of being a catch-all for everything, we want the train station to be a train station museum. And the General History Museum will be one of the other buildings in the future when we have the time. But you ask
What's your
here's
favorite?
the thing about the train station. Any train station, most train station museums that you go to in this country, or at least in the West, right? It's going to be about the big four. It's going to be about, Stanford, Crocker, Hopkins, Huntington, and that's the way everybody always does it. But what this does by focusing by doing just the train station, you have an opportunity to do more stories. And as you do more stories, you realize, the railroad wasn't just the big four.
Right.
It's all the people who are involved in the railroad. It's the service personnel. It's people who you've never heard of, people who we've never had the opportunity to tell the stories. And I'm going to try not to go too long on this, but in 1950, there was a station agent who was appointed the person in charge of the train station, right? It was a woman.
Yep.
And she had the most seniority. The way railroad jobs worked, it went by seniority. And so she had the most seniority of anybody who applied for the job of the person in charge of the Saugus train station. Well, the men who
exception to her
were
position.
runners-up in terms of seniority
Yep.
weren't happy. So they actually complained to the Southern Pacific Railroad and said, hey, whoa, wait a minute, you can't do that because under California law, a woman cannot hold a job where she's required to work more than 8 hours a day or lift more than 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Everything on the railroad, it weighs more than 25 pounds. I can tell you that personally.
Mailbags and all that stuff.
And it's more than an 8-hour-a-day job. So they had to take away her job. And that was in 1950-51. And so turn up the clock, 1964 Civil Rights Act. She applies for another station agent job with the Southern Pacific. And their response is to cancel that position. they eliminated
Try to
the
keep her
position.
out of it. Yep.
So she sues, goes all the way to the United States Supreme Court, gets her job back, and that set a precedent throughout the transportation industry in the United States, all because of what happened here at Saugus. And so that's the kind of story we can tell. You have, the porters on the Pullman line ran throughout the country. And most of the porters on the Southern Pacific and all the porters on the Pullman rail, the Pullman cars, the Pullman passenger cars, were African American. And they actually formed the first African American labor union in the United States. It took them another 7 years to get a contract, but those are all. It takes all these different people are part of making the railroad work. And now, for the first time, we're able to tell those stories.
Well, again, I grew up in this town. My wife's an attorney, and we talk about the dinner conversation around our table is often about Supreme Court cases. And here's one in our town. Because not only did that change overall transportation, that case is one of the foundational cases that established what we loosely call women's rights in this country, certainly the right to work and a few other things. So, and I never heard the story. And this is a few blocks away from where I grew up. I had absolutely no idea.
It's not that long ago that we learned the story. Okay?
Make me feel a little better, I guess. Thank you.
But these stories need to be pushed
Absolutely. And the point is, but you got to go. I mean, you got to go see this stuff. It's not going to
There's
come
so
to
much
you.
for kids to learn. There's so many different kinds of things. And here's the thing, by doing all this kind of stuff, you want to be able to have a connection to, when you go to a museum, you want to be able to feel a connection.
Yep.
And we're going to be able to, our community. From 1980, when we moved the train station, we had a population of about 80,000 people.
Yeah.
Today, we've got in Greater Valley about 350,000 people, right? So we've grown 4 or 5-fold since then. And the demographics have changed dramatically. And one of our goals is for everybody, no matter who you are, to be able to walk in to the train station and feel a connection.
It does that. It does also, speaking of myself personally, it absolutely does that. That's what I kind of mean. I like museums. I'm a museum person. Wherever we travel, I make a point of going to museums. I've been very fortunate. I've been to some of the nicest museums in the world. But most of them are very static. There are a lot that aren't, which is great. But it's not like, you go, you look at the picture on the wall, you look at the exhibit behind the glass, you read the plaque, you move on to the next thing. But what you guys have done out with the station in the area surrounding it is there are whole buildings there. I mean, just walk the property. It's fantastic. And a little setup at the top with the church at the top of it, and that's where the little schoolhouse is, and a couple of other houses. It is literally as close as I think you can come to stepping back into that era. I mean, it's full immersion. You guys aren't even done yet. A lot of it was still being put together. And
We're just
filled out
getting
and opened.
started. I mean, we
Yeah.
basically, I mentioned that we didn't get that state and federal grant because they were canceled. We had a really good shot at them too, which is kind of sad. But they would have allowed us to complete the interior build out of the train station and of the other museum building. But so we decided just do what little bit we can afford to open right now and get it open because it's been with COVID it's 5 years ago.
It's fantastic.
We got to reopen it. But we have so many that the grants would have funded, and we will continue to. We won't stop writing grants for that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, but the plans call for a lot of interactive stuff, a lot of new technology stuff, and stuff that we will be doing. We will be involving a lot of technology in it to bring it into the 21st. We're finally into the 21st century.
Yeah. Well, the lesson there, listeners, is go see it, see what I'm talking about. I mean, you can. Feel free to tell me I'm a crazy person. I think you'll like it though, and donate, get involved. I mean, it is a fantastic thing to do. It's good for your kids. It's good for other people's kids. It's an experience not to be missed. And you're right here in the local community. You took out three of my questions here. I was going to ask you about the station there, particularly about. I'm sorry, I do apologize. I should have written down her name. The gal with the Supreme.
Leah Rosenfeld?
That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
So you knew that one already. Okay.
Well, no, I was there. Even when we talked about it. And of course, I brought that home immediately and said, I've got a Supreme Court thing. And my wife immediately went to Westlaw and looked up the case. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking about it ever since because she actually was shouting from her office, this wasn't just about that case. That case was a landmark, but it also led to all these other cases that it became.
The interesting thing to me about that is that though that California law went back to 1911 or 14, mm-hmm. Under Hiram Johnson, reform governor, and that was a time where heck, we had riots at our little jail down here. I don't know if hobos is a word that you can still use, but it was hobos who would ride the rails, and a lot of them were very. It was a revolutionary time in American history, and in Russian history, and pretty much everywhere.
Everybody, globe reset.
It was a revolutionary time.
World War II.
But so cooler heads prevailed, but the upshot of that was to have more labor-friendly laws, and so in the 1910s, that law regarding women and work hours and 25 pounds was intended to be labor friendly toward female laborers, because at the time they were forced to work 16-hour days, and they were forced to lift whatever, right? And so the intent was that you can't force a woman to work more than 8 hours a day. You can't force a woman to lift more than 25 pounds. And so that was intended to be good for the laborer.
Yeah.
But the corollary was you also can't hire a woman where she has to do those things.
Well, that's what we were talking about. As my wife put it,
unintended consequence, really.
Well, as my wife put it, she said, "I think my purse weighs more than 25 pounds at the
Yeah.
moment."
Right?
So well, fair enough. Well, good news, Janie. If you want to check your law career and go get a job on the railroad, I think you qualify now. Mm-hmm. I don't think she's going to do that. This was a good one. I thought it was a good question for you guys. Give me two of your favorite historic areas around SCV that are not already at the museum. I mean, maybe the Magic Mountain parking lot, because every time I turn around, something else that used to be that used to be in what is now.
Mountain.
We all worked at Magic Mountain. It's part of the gig here.
Magic Mountain.
But I've got every time I look.
And I work for Jim Burkhardt, who's now coming on our board. So there you go.
Terrific. But so what? Like as far as other historic spots, not the museum itself, but outside the museum, like where something came from, or like you were talking about, there was a little hobo riot. We'll call it that. What your favorite kind of spot, both of you, around the Santa Clarita Valley that is not necessarily the museum itself? Just as you're driving down the street, hey, I remember that.
Well, let's see. Now, part of my childhood, I lived in Castaic. My dad worked for New Holland and Farming, but we lived on the old Jenkins land ranch. It was a ranch. Yeah. So there was always a lot of great history there that we always enjoyed. And in that area, there was this cemetery, and so it's behind our property. And from the pioneer times, right, 1800s. And I remember when North Lake was being developed, they ran into that cemetery. Of course, a lot of us knew about that cemetery, and so we kind of raised the flag. But then they ended up moving the remains to Eternal Valley. But yeah, that was, that's something that, it just really stuck with me. That I'm glad we were able to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah. It would be bad if somebody built an office building on top of it, and then you found out later that there are people buried under the office building.
Or homes in that
or
case,
homes,
right?
yeah.
So
that would not be so wonderful.
Yeah, so.
What about you?
I don't have an answer to that question because I
There's
like it
just
all.
so much.
There is so much. There are things everywhere, and people don't necessarily believe me when I say this, but it's all important to me, and I can't. It's hard to pick out a favorite. We mentioned Rancho Camulos. You have the St. Francis Dam site.
Yes.
You've got the Native American archaeological sites
exactly.
where Gloria was talking about, and the Castaic Lake area. You've got the Oak of the Golden Dream. You had the first gold, the first oil in Entryville. The earliest filming when Hollywood. When New York moved to Hollywood in 1910, they were really moving here. This is our back lot. First film here was made in 1910, and they're still made. Several productions every day, and it never stopped. The second worst disaster in California history with the St. Francis Dam. We have so much, and there are still a lot of places that you can go to today and see where it happened. The Harry Carey Ranch buildings, which are now also city owned, as a museum at the mouth of San Francisco Canyon, and there's so much everywhere.
We'll never get through all of my other questions to ask you guys when we get back. I'm getting waved out. We have to go to break here from some more of the advertisers. We'll do that. When we come back from break, you guys are listening to The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman, on KHTS, FM 98.1, AM 1220, your hometown station. But please listen to the break. We come back. We've got more. We're going to talk more about SCV history, and I've got a couple of other really good questions, especially about the history about Hollywood and how Hollywood kind of had to do with the train station, because there's a lot of fascinating history there. So listen to the break, won't you? And we'll come back with more. Hey everybody, thank you for listening. We've reached The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman, on KHTS 98.1 FM AM 1220, your hometown station. Usually we do a show about real estate and local residential real estate and some of the stuff going on in the market. But today we're doing something special. We're talking to Leon Worden and Gloria Mercado-Fortine about the SCV Historic Society and the work they're doing and the stuff that's going on around Sauga Station and the stuff they're doing in Hart Park there. And it's just absolutely around the and it's fantastic. You should go visit it. It is absolutely amazing. We're running out of time. We're running out of show. I got two questions I want to get to. One, what is your favorite art in the entire museum and all the stuff you guys have collected? What's your favorite of the stuff? You could say the station, I suppose, but could you even pick a top two, top 10?
A hard one.
Nothing. When you guys, there one thing that you chase down and you just sort of got, and it's like this is the
I don't know
holy
how you
grail.
do that. I mean,
That's all holy grails.
Okay, what comes to mind? An Arastra cogwheel. Okay, an Arastra cogwheel comes to mind.
What do you know what that is?
Well, back, when you used to crush gold ore out of quartz,
okay,
there was a.
Oh, I take it back. I do know what it is. Go ahead.
Back in the old Mexican and Spanish and Mexican periods, you would have a wheel with spokes sticking out. You'd attach your mule to it, and they'd
crush
walk around and crush. So we have a cogwheel out of an Arastra that was from the Santa Clarita Valley. So that goes back to the early 1800s.
That's cool.
I don't know. We've got so much.
Oh my God, there's so much.
Maybe
how do you pick something? I don't know. A lot of interesting things.
Fair enough. Leave on to you. Tell me some of the stories about because people love this kind of stuff, and I'm hoping to get feet out in the museum. Tell us some of the stories about some of the Hollywood and the movies and some of the stuff that's gone through the station, because there's a ton of stuff.
Oh, yes.
There were movies that were shot at the station. I know there were all sorts of luminaries that came through the station. What are a couple that kind of stick with you guys? Yeah, okay.
Well, the big one that we talk about most because it fits best with the period of restoration, World War I, World War II, is the Frank Sinatra, Sterling Hayden movie Suddenly, and it was shot here in downtown Newhall and at the Saugus train station in 1954. And it's what's interesting about that is I would like to say that every small town in America has pictures of stuff the way it was.
Sure.
We, because of our proximity to LA, are fortunate enough to have moving pictures of our history. Our history is captured on celluloid from the 1910s on. So actually in the restoration of the train station that we just completed, the downstairs portion of it, that movie suddenly was very informative to us. We say, "Oh, look,
sure.
that was there. This belongs
Freeze
there.
it
That
here
was
and see
there.
what that
This
is."
is how
Yeah.
that was."
Yeah.
And so, with the Charlie Chaplin movie where they filmed actually exteriors, not interiors, at the train station in 1923, that suddenly, and then there were things like, Grifters with Angelica Houston, John Cusack,
Sure.
and
Much newer movie.
Later.
But
A
so
lot of
if you're a
other
fan of Sinatra or John Cusack or Charlie Chaplin for that matter, they walked the same boards. I mean, they were there. So you might want to come out and check that out because that is pretty neat. I mean, there's a lot of great history out there. Last question, we'll wrap up on this because it's going to take a while. Tell me about the locomotive. Everybody wants to talk about the locomotive. So, I mean, I've got a little bit of the history now, but tell me about how did we get the locomotive?
Why do you like the locomotive, Gloria?
Yeah, there you go. Why do you like the locomotive,
Well,
Gloria?
because it's old and it's history. I mean, and it's fun. I mean, I wish we could get it going and rolling down.
Well, there's only so much track.
Yeah,
but
Go call Metrolink and ask them to let them take it.
Get on their line,
Let them
yeah.
take it on the
Wouldn't
tracks.
that be great?
Oh, yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's going to happen. I'm all for that as well.
It was built in 1900. It was actually used, by the Southern Pacific Railroad, and it actually ran on those tracks
tracks,
right
yeah.
there, but not for very long. It
a steam engine.
It came in a steam engine, and it came out here in 1900. And in it was used on these lines up until 1904. So a very short time, but it was used here, so that counts. But what happened in 1904 was back before 1904, the Saugus used to be on the line to Santa Barbara. Then they did a cutoff, and they went around the coast. And so it had service in Oregon, it had service in Arizona, it had service for a very short time in Mexico. Southern Pacific ran in Mexico and had their own Southern Pacific.
I was reading that train
line
actually spent time in Mexico.
About a couple months actually. So that locomotive has been all over the place, but now it's got a caboose that joins it. Both come from this steam era. Theoretically, they could have run together. The caboose ran on this line longer. You know what they call a train that consists only of a locomotive and a caboose?
Oh, God, I read this morning. C-stop?
It's called a cab hop.
Cab hop, I was
Caboose
close.
hop, cab hop. I don't know
hop.
why.
I wouldn't have passed it on the test, but I got it.
Railroad people have lingo for everything.
Cab hop.
I'm not a railroad guy. I'm a general Santa Clarita Valley history guy. So,
Actually, I
but
read
we
that this
do
morning.
have, railroad. We've worked closely with Southern Pacific Railroad. In fact, the top Southern Pacific Railroad historians have been involved in the restoration of our train station.
I noticed that over and over and over again. I think maybe that's why. I mean, it's not just the heart and soul and the money that's been put into all this. Everywhere you turn around, this was done by a preeminent expert in their field. It wasn't just us or one or two, three. We are sure this is right. We've done this, to the nth degree, and so what you're looking at, you can be sure is correct.
Right.
So it's absolutely fantastic. I know we're wrapping up the show, and I want to make sure we get to the most important part. Aside from the fact that the museum is fantastic, and you should all go see it. If you've not seen it, if you haven't been there in years like me, go see it. But the most important part is fundraising, because if you want to see this continue to do what it's doing and continue to grow, and I know you guys got all kinds of cool plans, fundraising. So if you've got to listen, you've got to put some money into this. We all do. It's a community thing. We should be getting more money out of the state and the Fed. That's a whole other story. We can do this ourselves. We're a pretty resilient group. But you got to help. So Gloria, tell them how they can help.
Okay, so remember, put it on your calendar, March 7th. At the Canyon Country Community Center. And so you can help by, obviously we want you to participate. We want everybody there. But we really would like sponsors. And there's various levels of sponsorship from $500 to $10,000. Or just do straight out donations. We will take everything.
Tell them how they get tickets, how they get a hold of you.
So you can go onto our website, www.scvhs.org. And just go there. It'll provide you with all the information you need. You can purchase tickets. You can do donations. You can do everything. But please, this is a great cause. I mean, there's a lot of good causes, but this is our history.
I think
It'll
this
be a
is
fun
a
event.
worthy
It'll
one.
be different. We haven't really had there hasn't been a themed gala that I can think of that has been quite like this, in town.
Yeah, so it'll be more interesting as well. Yeah. But you guys, you got to get involved. I'm telling you, it is absolutely worth it. If you don't believe me, just go down there. Just go take a walk around for 20 minutes. I'm telling you, you'll get what I'm trying to
Saturday afternoons from 1 to 4. That's when the train station
is.
You can walk around and look at the outside of the buildings anytime. From dawn to dusk. But Saturday afternoons, 1 to 4 is when the train station is open. You can actually go inside and
Bring
see
the
all the stuff that
kids.
you've been
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Family,
Yeah, so
yeah.
you got to go Saturday between 1 to 4 every weekend. It is absolutely fantastic. It is a gem in our right in the middle of our own town, and a lot of people don't even know about it. You got to go check it out. It's absolutely fabulous. So, if you're interested in any of this, if you've missed anything, if you want to catch up, this video will be on YouTube. You can check it there. You can also, if you have any questions, you can call me. I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. As you guys know, I always give out my cell phone number on the air, 661-714-1400. Again, 661-714-1400. That is my personal cell phone. You can reach me on that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I will be more than happy to point you in the right direction. If you didn't hear what Gloria was saying, or you had some questions about it, I'll get you in touch with the right people. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for coming in. This has been just a fantastic show. I rarely get to talk this little, so it's fantastic for me. I can just take a break. It's very, very nice. But more importantly, this is important data, you guys. Go check this thing out. If you live in this town, you really owe it to yourself. If you're raising kids in this town, you really owe it to them to go see this museum. It is absolutely fantastic. I've been to museums all over the world. This one is now my favorite because it's in my town. It is absolutely our town. It is fantastic. So thank you guys for coming in. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. Go check out the museum. Call me if you have any questions. Get in touch with the station. We can help you too. Of course, go directly to the website. It's always the best thing.